Hey guys, welcome back to another flashlight review, and today we're going to be looking at something pretty special. This is the brand new Nitecore P40, and it's a dual purpose flashlight with a spotlight rated at nearly 3 kilometers of range, and it achieves this impressive figure through implementing a laser excited phosphor module. So basically it sits down the base there, converts blue laser light into broad spectrum white light. And the P40 is rated at 2000 lumens, also has a 5 LED flood mode here on the side, you can see, and this basically lights everything up nearby, even mid-range. And yeah, if you basically want one light that can reach super far away and also be useful up close, this might be the one. So a quick little demo. So basically, you know, when you press that tail switch there, it's so hard to see because it's just ridiculously bright, and it's got the LEP module on plus the 5 flood LEDs, so got that memorized on turbo. And there is this button here on the side, so you can lower this down into different modes. So it's basically a low, medium, and a high mode. Now on each mode, the cool thing is that you can press and hold this button and swap between spot plus flood, and flood alone. Okay, so this is the low mode, just easier to see on camera, but there is this medium mode there, as you can see, similar sort of deal. And there is a high mode, okay, and of course the turbo mode, which is the spot plus flood. That gives you that near 3 kilometer range. Another thing I thought was pretty cool is that you can press both buttons and this enters into something called a cruise mode. So basically when you angle the light downwards like this, it lowers the brightness, and as you move the light to like a more 90-degree angle, you can see it just ramps up the brightness. It's a little bit difficult to demonstrate here on camera, but we'll show you some beam shots afterwards to highlight this. So in terms of what you get in the box, it's everything that you see here, and Nitecore includes one of these cells, the NL2155HP, and you can also use non-proprietary cells. Thankfully, they do need to be button top cells, and basically you need a cell that is rated at 8 amps or higher. This one's rated at 20 amps. I did try some flat tops in there and they just don't make contacts. You need something that will sit flush in the battery tube. Nitecore also includes this holster, so you can basically fit the light in like that, strap that onto your belt pretty easily. It's also a little harness here as well if you want to carry it on your sides, and you do get this USB-C charging cable, lanyard, a couple of spare O-rings in there as well, plus this instruction manual. And this is the box that it comes in, so you can see it's pretty large box there, and on the side some specifications here on the back as well. So here is the instruction manual up close if some of you want to have a read of it, and over here you've got the specifications as well, and I'll actually run through some tests later on in the review to confirm those. So here I've got the Nitecore P40 next to a few other flashlights that I own, and this is the Astrolux WP3, and you can see it's pretty similar in size, except the P40 has a slightly larger head. But in terms of the aspheric lens, as you can see there, it's pretty much the same as the WP3. Okay, they've just managed to add in those 5 LEDs here on the side, so that's caused the bezel to expand a little bit. And I've also got my Nextorch T20L, and I think it might have the same laser module in here. And I was talking to my friend Tim McMahon, he's got his own flashlight YouTube channel as well. You can search him up. Yeah, he's suggested it might be the same shine through module, as you can see in there. And yeah, these are pretty, as you can see, like similar in size. It's just the head that's a little bit wider on the Nitecore, and they've gone for a more kind of military kind of look to it. And if you look at that here, that's my Convoy L21B. Okay, here is a little close-up of the Nitecore P40, and this thing feels pretty solid, and it's got this tactical slash military styling and pretty large wide bezel. As you can see, it's not something that you can fit in your pocket. It's 67 millimeters in diameter, And the good thing is that there's tons of material for proper heat sinking in the head, and it's made of aerospace grade aluminium, HA3 anodizing, and it does feel a little bit slippery, but thankfully you've got this knurling on the battery tube that helps to add grip. And there is also this kind of, I don't know what you'd call it, like a ring grip here on the side. So if you hold it like that, basically it stops the light from falling out of your hand. The Nitecore P40 is also IP68, water resistant and dust resistant, submersible to 2 meters. The P40 is also 1 meter impact resistant and comes with a 5-year warranty. So in terms of how the light is operated, you've got this dual switch design. So you've got a switch on the side, a switch on the back. Now you need to press that tail switch in order to actually use all these side switches, otherwise they will not activate. And the side switch here is made of rubber. Feels fairly durable. It's actually 2 switches there where you kind of ramp up and down the modes, and that's the tail switch, also with a firm rubber boot, sticks out the back so the light will not tail stand. Another thing to mention is this button here on the side as well does have a battery indicator. As you can see, it sort of glows there. I'll go into that in more detail in a moment. On the back you have a USB-C charging port with this cover on the back, so there you go, pretty easy to access. This light doesn't come with a clip, and it's going to be very difficult to carry this thing in your pocket anyway, but yeah, it does have a few attachment points here where you can add on a lanyard. Here we go, just in here. All right, so here's a little close-up underneath the bezel of the Nitecore P40, and the LEP spotlight uses this aspheric lens, this large lens there. And there's this interesting patterned design. You can see it's like a geometric sort of design that runs around inside. It's kind of difficult to get there. There we go. Can you see that just on the inside of the lens? It strangely goes all around. And I don't know if that's like a cosmetic thing or there to help maybe smooth out the beam. You've also got these 5 flood LEDs here on the side. I'm not sure exactly what they are, but they do use these 5 tiny little orange peel reflectors, but as you can see, most of the space is reserved for the LEP module and lens. And you've got this crenulated bezel as well, so when you have the light on, you can see it come out, the light come out from the little cutouts. It's more of a cosmetic thing. I don't think this will cause any issues in security points. All right, so a little run through of the flashlight. So essentially you need to press that tail switch first in order to turn on the flashlight, and it goes into memory mode. So it's whatever you've left the light on. So you can actually just leave it on the turbo mode, which you press this up button all the way until it doesn't go any further, and you can step it down to this low, medium, and high mode. Now, with each low, medium, and high mode, you can say we're in the lowest mode now. You can press and hold and the bottom switch, and it just changes from spot plus, flood, and flood alone, and basically it memorizes that. So I'm going back to that lowest mode, it memorized that flood, so you can kind of program in your own UI almost. So if you just want, say, a flood mode for all the lower modes, so low, medium, and high, here you can just basically program those in like that. So you got a low, medium, and high flood, and then with the highest turbo mode here, I've got the LEP mode activated plus all 5 LEDs. So it really depends on your needs, and I think that's a really cool feature. You can also press and hold the top button from any mode to activate the turbo. So that's the turbo LEP plus all the 5 LEDs on at the same time. Oops, where is it here? The lowest mode. There we go. It does take a little bit of time to activate though. There is this adaptive cruise mode that I was demonstrating before. So you just press both the switches like that, and that will essentially activate it there. So you can see the light dim as you point it downwards, and as you bring it upwards, it increases in brightness. Now, if you turn the light off with the tail switch, turn it back on, it actually remembers that you're using that adaptive cruise mode, and it activates straight away. But yeah, if you have it on and then you press another switch, that's basically it. It's going to go to the last mode that you were using, so you need to reactivate it again. The light does have a kind of tactical mode in here, so if you half press, you can see here, it will activate whatever mode that you had in memory. So, you know, if you want to pop it up to the highest mode, the spot plus flood turbo mode, and half press, you can get that. Yeah, you basically can get that mode, and there's very little, in my opinion, that can go wrong if you, yeah, because if you press a button, another button, while the light is on, except for maybe that button there, which is kind of like a voltage readout, and the tail switch, it's always going to go onto that end mode. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's a proper, you know, legit tactical interface. You can see there, it's just blinking out the voltage, 4.2 volts. So yeah, you basically just hold that and then press that in order to turn it on. Okay, so I ran a bunch of ceiling bounce tests with the Nitecore P40, and this is the turbo mode. You can see 2000 lumens, and it starts off on 100%, but you can see it actually rises a little bit up until a minute, at which point it starts to drop again. And just before the 3-minute mark, you can see the step down. So nearly 3 minutes of runtime on that highest mode. That's pretty impressive for, you know, close to 3 kilometers of range. And this is another test I ran with the spot mode on high. And you can see here that sort of effect where you start the light off, it does rise and continue rising pretty much all the way to 12 plus minutes, about 12-13 minutes, and then you have the drop again to 60% output. But yeah, it's interesting that you do get that increase in output. Here's another ceiling bounce test that I ran on the spot plus flood mode on high, and you can see here the light pretty much starts off on 100%, rises very, very slightly, and then at the 17-minute mark steps down to 40% output. Here's a final ceiling bounce test that I ran just on the flood high mode, and you can see here pretty good performance. The light holds between 95 and 100% output for the duration of the test. And here are the measurements I took with my Opal Lightmaster Pro. You can pause the video and have a read of them, and you can see here on the turbo mode 2000 lumens, and these are all switch on values, by the way. Measured 2763 meters of range. And it's also important to note the spot mode on the high mode achieved 2111 meters of range. So yeah, the high and the turbo mode does have a significant difference in terms of range and output for the LEP beam. You can see with the CCT all on the cool end, so everything's above, you know, 6500. And yeah, the flood mode, surprisingly, as you can see here with those 5 flood LEDs on high, you know, I still got 91 meters of range, which I think is quite impressive, and it's sustainable output as well. So some considerations to keep in mind if you're thinking of getting the Nitecore P40. Now, the first consideration is that this light is somewhat heavy and bulky for a flashlight, so it's just under 400 grams, and probably not ideal if you're looking for a really lightweight carry or EDC light. But yeah, if you're looking for that, you're probably not watching this video. And I think this light will be best paired with the supplied holster, or if you basically carry it around in your bag. I managed to fit this thing in my inner jacket pocket, but obviously it looks a little bit funny poking out. The second consideration is the premium price tag. But yeah, of course, this thing outperforms pretty much all other hybrid LED/LEP flashlights out there in terms of range, and I think it's actually cheaper than some LEP flashlights with similar specifications as well. The third consideration is, while the P40 is pretty versatile, you know, that spot and floodlight both in the same package, it's not a specialized kind of flashlight. So yeah, it might be unnecessary if all you need is a compact flood beam, a thrower. Even something like the Convoy L21B is a much better budget option if you don't need the long range LEP plus the flood LEDs all in the same package. In terms of the UI, there are just a few things I noted in here, and basically I wish there was a turbo mode with just the LEP alone. It's interesting how you can just you can change the low, medium, and high to select the different LED, LEP, and both flood plus throw modes, but you can't do that in the turbo. And I think that just would be useful when I want to use the turbo spot mode, get that near 3 kilometer of range without that flood alongside. So Yeah, I also think it would be good if I could change the modes on cruise mode. So when you activate cruise mode, it seems to go to like a turbo, high or turbo mode in there. And yeah, you can't activate, say, just the flood LEDs in there, which I think would be cool if you could just use the flood mode only if you don't need the spot. Another note is that the hotspot is just a bit smaller than I expected, and I'm not exactly sure what the output of the LEP module is, but I have the Nextorch T20L here on the side, and I did a ceiling bounce test on both and got slightly higher readings with the P40, and obviously that's with these 5 flood LEDs on top turned on. And I've seen some questions online about the 2000 lumen output, and I just wanted to confirm that it really is a combination of those flood LEDs plus the LEP module. It's, I would say, mostly flood, but yeah, don't be fooled at the lower output rating of these LEP modules. They pack a serious punch due to all that light being focused into a very small area. So another observation I wanted to talk about is that on all the modes I tested and measured besides flood only, the P40 starts off lower and increases in output slowly before dropping. So that means that the range measurements that I took with my Oppo Lightmaster Pro are likely underestimated, since I basically measure the readings when I switch the light on. And yeah, finally, I wouldn't recommend this as a tactical flashlight, since that it just memorizes the last mode that you've used. Now, if you've got it on the the turbo mode, you're going to be fine. You pretty much, because these side switches don't do anything. When you press that tail switch, that's about the only thing that you can activate. Do I think the P40 is worth it? For me, definitely. There are a few of these LEP/LED hybrids out there, but none of them come close to the 3-kilometer range of the P40. And I really like that the light has sustained output with these flood LEDs in here as well on the flood high mode. Really makes it suitable for short to medium range, and yeah, pretty much unlike many LEP flashlights, because there are some LEP flashlights like the AceBeam W35 that has an electronic controllable, what you may call it. It just adds this diffuser on the front, and it uses the LEP module still to generate all that light, which is actually quite inefficient. If you compare it to these LEDs, you're going to get much more runtime as well, less heat. So yeah, I think the P40 definitely hits a sweet spot between serious throw, usable flood, you got this solid build quality as well, and some smart features with that cruise mode. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. Is this something that you'd carry around? And if you have questions, just let me know in the comments. I will get back to you. Surely I've missed something. If you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, click the like button and share this with someone or somewhere where people might be interested. Just helps me to get the video out to more people. And if you want to see more flashlight reviews and keep up to date with the latest flashlight news, make sure you subscribe. Nitecore P40, and this is the turbo mode. So 2000 lumens combined, the spot LEP with the flood. Wow, that is powerful. I think I need to go somewhere that's a bit that goes out a bit further actually. This reminds me pretty much of the beam on the Astrolux WP3, and holy cow, yeah, that beam is amazing. Just look at that in the night sky. Literally looks like, as you can see here in camera, like some kind of lightsaber. And I like how you've got a ton of this spill as well. Now I'm going to bring this all the way back to the lowest mode. Now this here is basically the flood only mode, and if I hold the button down, I can change it to go to kind of spot only. So this is the low spot on the low mode. Still reaches the back, and spot plus throw, and you can see there's a little reduction in brightness from the hotspot here. So, and then you've just got the flood alone. This is on the low mode again. So just to show you again, this is the low mode spot. So all these 3 modes are low,
and then low spot plus flood, you can see that it redirects or seems to distribute some of the power to those LEDs, or yeah, just maybe changes the configurations around. But anyway, let's go to the next mode up. So this is medium mode, and yeah, basically it's medium flood only, so I can press that button, hold it down, and I can get this medium spot mode, which is pretty decent. I mean, it reaches the back very easily. This is an LEP flashlight, so no surprises there. I mean, all the way in the back I can see that tree. It's lighting up that tree all the way in the distance. And here's the spot plus flood, and you can see again that significant reduction in candela and brightness of the hotspot. So yeah, just know when you're using the mix mode, spot plus flood, you do get that reduction in brightness in the spot. Now let's go to the next mode, which is high, and this is high flood, and this is pretty good. Like, I can see quite easily to the center of that field, a little bit at the back, but the flood goes pretty much all into my peripherals. It's kind of funny though, if I hold the light like this, you can see it's like, because the LEDs are on one side of the bezel, you need to hold it this way so that you kind of get a little bit more periphery light. Otherwise it kind of looks a bit like a, how should I put it, like a vertical line of light rather than a horizontal spread of light. Okay, and I'm gonna just flick that on the spot mode now, and that's high. Wow, it's just amazing how clean this beam looks as well. And let's go spot plus flood on the high mode. Now it's just such a well-balanced beam. We've got a ton of flood plus this hotspot. Now, I do wish that hotspot was a bit larger, or maybe, you know, if there was a mechanism on here that I could just adjust that hotspot to make it a little bit bigger, like a zoomie or something. I think that would be ideal, but you can't have everything. There is also this function where you press both. It's called cruise mode, and it's a little bit difficult to demonstrate here, but essentially when I point the flashlight down, the light reduces in brightness, and when I point it up, it increases in brightness again. So it's like I guess there's an accelerometer or something that tells when the light is, I guess, parallel or facing forward, parallel to the ground or facing forward, and it increases the brightness. So then when I'm like pointing it at the ground, which you can't really see here, it actually reduces the brightness. But I'll go for a walk and I'll show you exactly what I mean. And a little comparison here with my Convoy S8 to the left, and on the right I'll have the Nitecore P40. So Convoy S8, just to give you an indication of the amount of light. This is with the SFT25R as well, and that is the Nitecore P40. It actually looks a little, there's actually a lot more spill I can see in the background compared to what I see in the camera, but I've had to lower the ISO down because that hotspot is just too bright, otherwise it's gonna completely overexpose. So there's the Convoy S8 normal reflector with an SFT25R, and you can see that sort of narrower spill, and then you've got the Nitecore P40. So that's pretty amazing. You've got a ton of light in the foreground, in the midground, and for the background you can really just spot what is going on so easily with this amazing long-range beam. Nitecore P40, this is on the 2000 lumen mode, or turbo mode, and you can see it's just a ton of spill, but you also have this crazy long-range beam. So you can spot things here like this post sticking out of the ground, bits and pieces in the back as well, like a little mound of grass, some poles. Normally people go jogging around this area, and pretty easy to see what's running along the back there. And of course there's this little building there as well. I can light that up a little to the left. There's a lot of light pollution here in the city, so it's kind of tricky to see in the distance. I'll go for a little walk, but actually before I do, I might just go through the different modes. So again, this is the low mode, and you can flip in between just this spot only to spot plus throw. It reduces the power in the spot so you can see the range, and then you've got the flood alone. This is medium, and again this is like just swapping in between the three medium modes. And again, when you go to that spot plus throw, you see that reduction in power for the LEP long range, and this is the high mode. So I measured 2 kilometers of range with this spot mode on, and then got the flood, and then just the flood plus spot, as you can see. And let's go to the spot plus flood again, and I'll go to turbo now, which is 2000 lumens. Yeah, that spot is noticeably brighter, but it's also the flood. I'll go for a walk so you can see the beam profile. And near the end there, I was demonstrating the cruise mode where you kind of point it in the ground and it reduces the output. As soon as you angle the light upwards, it increases the power. See, you can just kind of see the LEP increase and decrease in brightness, and it's quite stepless as well. Well, I also like how it doesn't step down for a while. On turbo mode, you can also just reactivate it for a bit. It's really too intense to use up close on this turbo mode. But with the cruise mode on, it actually helps a fair bit. I can look at that LEP spot on the ground, even though it overexposes on the phone, without much issues. Here's a kind of mid-range shot, and I'll go for a walk as well. You can see that sort of tree to the left. This is on the 2000 lumen turbo mode. And out the back there, you've got the Docklands Star, and I think it's been decommissioned now for some time. But there's already some light on it, some ambient light on it, so you can't really see it. But I reckon it would be tinting it a little bit. Okay, I'll go for a little walk. Camera around this way, and I'll go for a little walk back there. There's just a bit more range here, so you might be able to make this out still. Okay, I'll go for a walk. Another little comparison, again my Convoy S8 with the SFT25R and the Nitecore P40 on the right, with the LEP. It's pretty much like night and day. Convoy S8 with the S25R, SFT25R, and the Nitecore P40. And it's not to make the Convoy look bad by any means, because it performs very well in its own regard, but with the LEP beam, long range beam, really it's just, you can see it really beats it out long range. Now I've also got my Nitecore EX7 here, and I'll pop that on the lumen shield mode, which is I believe 6,000 lumens, really bright. And then that's my Nitecore P40 and the EX7. So the EX7 has like a, yeah, it's just got way more flood, still fairly throwy. I can kind of see out the back a bit, tints those trees, but